This is a very brief walkthrough of Alchemy, followed by some demos of me sketching with it. I recommend Alchemy to pretty much everybody that I know, and most people give it a shot, but they get confused by it and never open it again. So hopefully this will give people some ideas on how they can use it. Okay, so if you look over here in your Create palette over here, you'll see that by default it's set to shapes. This is by far what I use to create the majority of my pictures, and this is with the style set to fill. And I just use short hatching strokes for the detail in my pictures, and large chaotic shapes that intersect on themselves for the silhouette detail, and large block-ins. Maybe not that chaotic, but you'll see. I also use pull shapes a lot. Pull shapes will pull shapes from directories in the Alchemy folder. You can see over here, you can specify bones, parts. I also use X shapes. This creates really sharp, hard, angular shapes. Very useful. And although I don't use it much, it's important to keep in mind that if you use pressure shape with the fill style, or with the style set to fill, it'll generate a line that's pretty similar to painting with a brush in Photoshop or Painter. I pretty much never use this, but if you're having trouble getting the shapes that you want, it might be worth trying that. Okay, the second thing I want to look at is the effect palette over here. And I already have it set to mirror, but if you turn on mirror, basically it'll make your painting symmetrical. Anything you draw on one side will get drawn on the other. You can turn on vertical symmetry also. Very simple. That's pretty much probably going to be what you use the majority of the time. In addition to that, I also use displace a good amount, and this one's a bit less predictable. Gives you some nice random chaotic shapes. Okay, so jumping right into a picture here. This is an example of how I use symmetry and pull shapes to generate random form. I'm not really sure what I want to do with this picture yet. All I know is that I want it to be a person. I'm just pulling shapes, looking for something interesting. And here I'm having trouble finding something where I can tell what it is, so I'm just going to quickly block in a face. You'd be surprised how quickly ideas come on what you can do with your picture once you have a simple reference point like a head or a face blocked in. Not really thinking about what things are, I'm just kind of throwing light into almost random places, just helping round out shapes. You don't necessarily need to know what anything is. You don't even need to really think about what you're drawing. Just lay down some shapes and try and figure out if it looks like anything. And if you don't like it, just paint over it. Staying really loose here, pulling more shapes. Your goal in Alchemy shouldn't ever really be to create a fully rendered picture. It's meant to generate ideas and help you explore ideas, do really loose sketches. It's not very well suited to rendering out details like, say, Photoshop or Painter. If you like the sketch, you can always just take it into Photoshop or Painter and finish it as far as you want. This is being sped up to, I think, 2.5 times normal speed, by the way. It was painted in around 7 minutes, which is pretty fast. Of course, you're only really painting half of the picture with symmetry on. So switching over to a different picture here. This one, again, no idea what it's going to be at this point. All I know is that I want a creature, and as always, this is pretty much how all of my pictures start. Just drawing random lines and shapes. People always ask me where I get ideas for my creatures, and you're pretty much looking at it. This is how the magic happens. Random shit. Here I am trying to carve out the head on this thing. I pretty much always start with the head. I tend to see it as the focal point for most of my designs, and I just tend to build the body around the head. Sometimes it's best to know just when to start over. This is the blocking that ends up being what I use for the final picture, or the final sketch. And it looks kind of like a cuttlefish at the moment to me. The head does anyway. I solved that by kind of lopping off the tendrils on its face, giving it a bit of a chin. Again, just staying really loose, trying to block out the rest of his body at this point. He's got a pretty intensely curved spine there. Most of my characters have a really exaggerated S spine shape. I find that it makes them look a little bit more imposing, I guess. Unfortunately, sometimes they just look like they're staring at the floor. I like to think that this guy kind of looks like he's staring over his shoulder, though. I've given him some kind of ear things, and at the moment he's looking a lot like a rabbit to me. Just dropping in random light, trying to get ideas as to what forms are standing out. Kind of giving him some, like a bit of a mane in the back of his head. A lot of these really short lines don't really have any purpose. I'm just kind of doing them because I don't really like having large spaces of just black space. So I tend to fill them with like kind of white hatching. Giving him some kind of teeth there. I spend a lot of time thinking about ways to improve my work and the things I've already done that have made the most impact on my work in general. And the best advice I could give to anybody out there who's trying to improve their work is simply don't put yourself inside of a box. I mean, I see so many artists out there that confine themselves to styles and subject matter that they're already pretty good at, and then they get depressed when they feel like their work isn't improving. I mean, after a certain point, it's not really good enough to just sit down and draw for a couple of hours if it means you're just going to doodle and draw shit you could draw in your sleep. You know, like everybody else, I sunk a lot of time into studying anatomy, and after a while, the only thing I could draw was bald, naked dudes with suspiciously similar faces. And, I don't know, drawing the same shit over and over is just really artistically and creatively stagnating. Just lots of repeating elements here. I dropped in some white spots around his collar region there. I don't know what those are. I'm just trying to get something different, because right now he's got a lot of lines. He's got kind of this collar armor thing going, and it's all kind of flowing in one direction. His ears slash horn things are kind of going the same way also. Trying to figure out the arm. The foreground arm is really annoying me. Just fixing the background hand. This also is playing at 2.5 times normal speed, so this I think this took about 25 minutes, which is pretty long for me. Usually I try to limit myself down to 15 to 20 minutes. But I finished this out simply because I was recording, so I was a little more self-conscious than usual. Typically I'm very lazy. Here I've just kind of thrown in a sword and shield, just trying to figure out if stuff works. I like giving all of my characters swords, so it's usually the first thing I try. Didn't work. If one sword and shield didn't work, maybe I'll give him two. That's not working either. So, chop that off. I felt like his lower body silhouette was a little uninteresting, so I gave him kind of an armor plate around his waist area. Again, trying to clean up the forearm and get rid of the pointless sword that I gave him. At this point, I've pretty much called the sketch done. I just want to thank everybody who's followed my work, and I realize I'm not the most sociable person most of the time, but I do appreciate all the interest in my art. Also, I apologize if my commentary wasn't remarkably helpful. After the first 8 or so minutes, I wasn't entirely sure what to put in the video, so yeah. Thanks for watching, and hopefully this video was helpful to somebody.